let's dig a little deeper on what new Consumer Price Index report really means.
9 News consumer investigator Steve Staeger here with us now. And Steve, inflation is up slightly year over year, but leveling out a bit?
Yeah, it is. And it may not seem like it, though, right? And an economic analyst we talked to today says the good news in this report will likely be for people who need to borrow money. More on that in just a minute. First, let's talk about what the numbers say. Consumer prices in general increased 3% in September compared to last September. Core inflation, that's the calculation that pulls out volatile prices like food and energy, that has actually gone down month to month. And what's interesting here, we aren't seeing the tariff-related price hikes some economists had predicted early on. Mark Hamrick, an analyst with Bankrate, says there are some out there, like furniture prices are up, and demand for used cars is driving up prices in that sector as people are avoiding new vehicles that are prone to tariffs.
Can see some evidence that inflation continues to moderate, but the result of inflation, which is elevated prices, remain very much with us. And that is the main takeaway, I think, for consumers. There's virtually no one celebrating in the streets today that I can see who are saying, wow, these problems with inflation are behind us.
Isn't that right? This report was delayed a bit because of the government shutdown, but many were waiting for it for what it means for seniors. These numbers help determine the cost of living adjustment for Social Security benefits. The Social Security Administration announced this morning that next year's COLA adjustment will be 2.8%. That means monthly payments for retirees will increase by about $56 for an estimated average of $2,071 a month. That's a higher increase than the 2.5% last year, but $56 isn't going to do much with costs where they are right now. And Hamrick says that it's much lower than the increase we saw a few years back.
The cost of living increase that we now know is cold comfort for Social Security recipients. It is below the recent average, which has been around 3.1%, and certainly well below the highest levels that we saw as inflation was skyrocketing.
So much of this year's increase will likely be erased by Medicare Part B premiums, which are forecasted to jump about $21 a month next year to $206 a month. Well, here's the good news in all of this. The cost of borrowing money could go down a bit. The Federal Reserve Board is meeting next week, and they're expected to cut their key interest rate. Inflation is higher than where they like it to be, around 2%, so it's a bit of a high-risk move for the Fed. Now, contrary to public belief, an interest rate cut by the Fed doesn't necessarily mean that mortgage rates will go down too. Hamrick told me economists can't really predict if mortgage rates will go below 6% in 2026, so we will have to wait and see. And finally, a little fun test you could try at home if you're into this kind of thing, discovered by our consumer producer, Anna Houston. You could see your own personal inflation rate for groceries. Now, according to the CPI, grocery prices were up 3.1% year over year in September. Now, if you have a loyalty card at the grocery store, log into your online account and you should be able to see all of your receipts dating back years. Wow. Most apps have an option where you can put all of those items into the cart today and you can compare what you paid then to what you pay now. It's not an exact science by any means. Anna had to go back and check weights of items and make sure everything all added up. But when she tracked her own receipts, put them into a spreadsheet right there back to 2022, earlier this year, Anna found that her grocery bill was up about 9%, which tracked with what the CPI had estimated at the time. So if you're interested in trying to do that thing on your own, you do have to do a little bit of background work, right? You have to go into the system. You have to try to figure out that the weights match, that the sizes of items are the same, that there aren't any other rates that are in there when you're looking at you can't just look at the gross total because otherwise it'll seem a lot higher, but you should be able to figure things out if you're up for tracking that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people are because we're all feeling this pain right now at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. And then this time, right? Like we're approaching Halloween and 7 Sleeps, not to mention all the holidays that come at us fast right after that. Like now is the time to be tracking that sort of thing.
Absolutely, 100%. I think everybody is budget conscious, especially this time of year. They're looking at ways to cut costs. Just a good idea to take a look at your grocery bill. You might be able to see some areas where you might be able to cut back and save a little bit of money.
I think too, when you have an actionable step, at least for me, it helps my anxiety. being able to do something about it. Rather, you feel like helpless, just kind of waiting, and you have no control with the government.
Well, and I like looking at data, right? Like I like to see what I'm
know.
spending money on, right, and see what's increasing in price. Like I'll tell you, what you notice some of the things at the grocery store. One of the things I noticed quite a bit is beef prices and how up they are right now. You know, chuck roast for a family, made a pot roast the other day, was like $40.
Wow.
I mean, compared to what you used to pay, like,
Yeah.
30, 25, something in that range.
It adds up.
Yeah, it does quite a bit.
All right. Steve Staeger, thank you.